Chapter 5 Morphology of Flowering Plants. The wide range and the structure of higher plants will never fail to fascinate us, even though the angiosperms show such large diversity in external structure or morphology. They are all characterized by the presence of roots, stems, leaves, flowers, and fruits. In chapter 2 and 3, we talked about classification of plants based on morphological and other characteristics. For any successful attempt at classification and at understanding any higher plant, or for that matter any living organism, we need to know standard technical terms and standard definitions. We also need to know about the possible variation in different paths found as adaptations of the plants to their environment. For example, adaptation to various habitats for protection, climbing, storage, etc. If we pull out any weed, you will see that all of them have roots, stems, and leaves. They may be bearing flowers and fruits. The underground part of the flowering plant is the root system, while the portion above the ground forms the shoot system. Figure 5.1. Parts of the flowering plant: flower, fruit, stem, leaf, bud, node, internode comprises the shoot system. Primary root and secondary root comprises the root system. 5.1 The root. In majority of the dicotyledonous plants, the direct elongation of the radicle leads to the formation of a primary root which grows inside the soil. It bears lateral roots of several orders that are referred to as secondary, tertiary, etc. roots. The primary roots and its branches constitute the taproot system as seen in the mustard plant figure 5.2a. In monocotyledonous plants, the primary root is short-lived and is replaced by a large number of roots. These roots originate from the base of the stem and constitute the fibrous root system, as seen in wheat plant, figure 5.2b. In some plants like grasses, monstera, and the banyan tree, roots arises from the parts of the plant other than the radicle and are called adventitious roots, figure 5.2c. The main functions of the root system are absorption of water and minerals from the soil, providing a proper anchorage to the plant parts, storing preserved food material, and synthesis of plant growth regulators. 5.2 Figure different types of roots: tap, laterals, main root; B. Fibrous with fibrous roots; C. Adventitious with adventitious roots. 5.1.1 Regions of the root. The root is covered at the apex by a thimble-like structure called the root cap, figure 5.3. It protects the tender apex of the root as it makes its way through the soil. A few millimeters above the root cap is the region of meristematic activity. The cells of this region are very small, thin-walled, and with dense protoplasm. They divide repeatedly. The cells proximal to this region undergo rapid elongation and enlargement and are responsible for the growth of the root in length. This region is called the region of elongation. The cells of the elongation zone gradually differentiate and mature. Hence, this zone proximal to the region of elongation is called the region of maturation. From this region, some of the epidermal cells form very fine and delicate thread-like structures called root hairs. These root hairs absorb water and minerals from the soil. Figure 5.3 The regions of the root tip: region of maturation, root hair; region of elongation, region of meristematic activity, root cap. 5.1.2 Modifications of root. Roots in some plants change their shape and structure and become modified to perform functions other than absorption and conduction of water and minerals. They are modified for support, storage of food, and respiration. Figure 5.4 and 5.5. Tap roots of carrot, turnip, and adventitious roots of sweet potato get swollen and store food. Can you give some more such examples? Have you ever wondered what those hanging structures that support a banyan tree are? These are called prop roots. Similarly, the stems of maize and sugarcane have supporting roots coming out of the lower nodes of the stem. These are called stilt roots. In some plants such as rhizopora, growing in swampy areas, many roots come out of the ground and grow vertically upwards. Such roots called pneumatophores help to get oxygen for respiration. Figure 5.5b. Figure 5.4 Modification of root for support. Banyan tree. Figure 5.5 Modification of root for A. Storage. Turnip, carrot, sweet potato. B. Respiration. Pneumatophore in rhizopora. Asparagus. Storage. Modification of root for storage: asparagus, turnip, carrot, sweet potato. B. Respiration, pneumatophore in rhizopora. 5.2 The stem. What are the features that distinguish a stem from a root. The stem is the ascending part of the axis bearing branches, leaves, flowers, and fruits. It develops from the plumule of the embryo of a germinating seed. The stem bears nodes and internodes. The region of the stem where leaves are born are called nodes, while the internodes are the portion between two nodes. The stem bears buds which may be terminal or axillary. Stem is generally green when young and later often become woody and dark brown. The main function of the stem is spreading out branches bearing leaves, flowers, and fruits. It conducts water, minerals, and photosynthesis. Some stems perform the function of storage of food, support, protection, and of vegetative propagation. 5.2.1 Modifications of stem. The stem may not always be typically like what they are expected to be. They are modified to form different functions. Figure 5.6 Underground stems of potato, ginger, turmeric, zamin-khand, colocasia are modified to store food in them. They also act as organs of perennation to tide over conditions unfavorable for growth. Stem tendrils which develop from axillary buds are slender and spirally coiled and help plants to climb, such as in gourds, cucumber, pumpkins, watermelon, and grapevines. Axillary buds of stems may also get modified into woody, straight, and pointed thorns. Thorns are found in many plants such as citrus, bougainvillea. They protect plants from browsing animals. Some plants of arid regions modified their stems into flattened opuntia or fleshy cylindrical euphorbia structures. They contain chlorophyll and carry out photosynthesis. Underground stems of some plants such as grass and strawberry etc. spread to new niches, and when older parts die, new plants are formed. In plants like mint and jasmine, a slender lateral branch arises from the base of the main axis and after growing aerially for some time arch downwards to touch the ground. A lateral branch with short internodes and each node bearing a rosette of leaves and a tuft of roots is found in aquatic plants like pistia and eichhornia. In banana, pineapple and chrysanthemum, the lateral branches originate from the basal and underground portion of the main stem, grow horizontally beneath the soil and then come out obliquely upward, giving rise to leafy shoots. Figure 5.6 Modification of stem for storage. Ginger, zamin-khand, potato. For support, axillary stem modified into tendril. Protection, stem modified into spine, bougainvillea species. Spread and vegetative propagation, roots arising from nodes, oxalis species. 5.3 The leaf. The leaf is a lateral, generally flattened structure borne on the stem. It develops at the node and bears a bud in its axil. The axillary bud later develops into a branch. Leaves originate from shoot, apical meristems and are arranged in an acropetal order. They are the most important vegetative organ for photosynthesis. A typical leaf consists of three main parts: leaf, base, petiole, and lamina. Figure 5.7a. The leaf is attached to the stem by leaf base and may bear two lateral small leaf-like structure called stipules. In monocotyledons, the leaf base expands into sheath covering the stem partially or wholly. In some leguminous plants, the leaf base may become swollen, which is called pulvinous. The petiole help hold the blade to light. Long, thin, flexible petioles allow leaf blades to flutter in wind, thereby cooling the leaf and bringing fresh air to leaf surface. The lamina or the leaf blade is the green, expanded part of the leaf with veins and veinlets. There is usually a middle prominent vein which is known as midrib. Veins provide a rigidity to the leaf blade and act as a channels of transport for water, minerals and food materials. The shape, margin, apex, surface and extent of incision of lamina varies in different leaves. Figure 5.7 Structure of leaf. Parts of a leaf: lamina, stipule, petiole, axillary bud, leaf base. 5.3.1 Venation. The arrangement of veins and the veinlets in the lamina or leaf is termed as venation. When the veinlets form a network, the venation is termed as reticulate. When the veins run parallel to each other within a lamina, the venation is termed as parallel. Leaves of dicotyledonous plants generally possess reticulate venation, while parallel venation is the characteristic of most monocotyledons. B. Reticulate venation, dicots. C. Parallel venation, monocots. 5.3.2 Types of leaves. A leaf is said to be simple when its lamina is entire or when incised. The incisions do not touch the midrib. When the incisions of the lamina reach up to the midrib, breaking it into a number of leaflets, the leaf is called compound. A bud is present in the axillary petiole in both simple and compound leaves, but not in the axillary leaflets of the compound leaf. The compound leaves may be of two types. In a pinnately compound leaf, a number of leaflets are present on the common axis, the rachis, which present the midrib of the leaf as in neem. In palmately compound leaves, the leaflets are attached at a common point, that is, at the tip of the petiole, as in silk cotton. Figure 5.8, compound leaves. A. Neem with rachis. B. Palmately compound leaf. Silk cotton. 5.3.3 Phyllotaxy. Phyllotaxy is the pattern of arrangement of leaves on the stem or branch. This is usually of three types: alternate, opposite, and whorled. An alternate type of phyllotaxy, a single leaf arises at each node in alternate manner, as in China rose, mustard, and sunflower plants. In opposite type, a pair of leaves arise at each node and lie opposite to each other, as in calotropis and guava plants. If more than two leaves arise at a node and form a whorl, it is called whorled, as in Alchtonia. Figure 5.9, different types of phyllotaxy. A. Alternate, China rose. B. Opposite, guava. C. Whorled, Alchtonia. 5.3.4 Modifications of leaves. Leaves are often modified to perform functions other than photosynthesis. They are converted into tendrils for climbing, as in peas, or into spines for defense, as in cacti. The fleshy leaves of onion and garlic store food. In some plants, such as Australian acacia, the leaves are small and short-lived. The petioles in these plants expand, become green, and synthesize food. Leaves of certain insectivorous plants, such as pitcher plant, Venus flytrap, are also modified leaves. Figure 5.10 Modification of leaf for A. Support, tendril. B. Leaf tendril. B. Protection, spines. Leaves modified into spines in cactus. C. Storage, fleshy leaves. Fleshy leaves in onion. 5.4 The inflorescence. A flower is a modified shoot wherein the shoot apical meristem changes to floral meristem. Internodes do not elongate and the axis gets condensed. The apex produces different kinds of floral appendages, laterally at successive nodes instead of leaves. When a shoot tip transforms into a flower, it is always solitary. The arrangement of flowers on the floral axis is termed as inflorescence. Depending on whether the apex gets developed into a flower or continues to grow, two major types of inflorescence are defined: racemose and cymose. In racemose type of inflorescence, the main axis continues to grow. The flowers are borne laterally in an equipetal succession. In cymose type of inflorescence, the main axis terminates in a flower, hence is limited in growth. The flowers are borne in a basipetal order. Figure 5.11 Racemose inflorescence. Figure 5.12 Cymose inflorescence. Cymose inflorescence is basipetal in order, and racemose inflorescence is acropetal in order. 5.5 The flower. The flower is the reproductive unit in the angiosperms. It is meant for sexual reproduction. A typical flower has 4 different kinds of whorls arranged successively on the swollen end of the stalk or pedicel, called thalamus or receptacle. These are calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. Calyx and corolla are accessory organs, while androecium and gynoecium are reproductive organs. In some flowers, like lily, the calyx and corolla are not distinct and are termed as perianth. When a flower has both androecium and gynoecium, it is bisexual. A flower having either only stamens or only carpels is unisexual. In symmetry, the flower may be actinomorphic, radial symmetry, or zygomorphic, bilateral symmetry. When a flower can be divided into two equal radial halves in any radial plane passing through the center, it is said to be actinomorphic. For example, mustard, datura, chili. When it can be divided into two similar halves only in one particular vertical plane, it is called zygomorphic. For example, pea, gulmohar, bean, cassia. A flower is asymmetric, irregular, if it cannot be divided into two similar halves by any vertical plane passing through the center, as in canna. A flower may be trimerous, tetramerous, or pentamerous when the floral appendages are in multiple of 3, 4, or 5, respectively. Flowers with bracts reduced leaf found at the base of the pedicel are called bracteate, and those without bracts ebracteate. Based on the position of calyx, corolla, and anthoecium in respect of the ovary and thalamus, the flowers are described as hypogynous, perigynous, and epigynous. In the hypogynous flowers, the gynoecium occupies the highest position, while the other parts are situated below it. The ovary in such flowers is said to be superior, for example, mustard, china rose, and brinjal. If gynoecium is situated in the center and other parts of the flower are located on the rim of the thalamus almost at the same level, it is called perigynous. The ovary here is said to be half inferior, for example, plum, rose, peach. In epigynous flowers, the margin of thalamus grows upward, enclosing the ovary completely and getting fused with it. The other parts of flower arise above the ovary. Hence, the ovary is said to be inferior, as in flowers of guava and cucumber and the ray florets of sunflower. Figure 5.13 Positions of floral parts on thalamus: A. Hypogynous, B and C. Perigynous, D. Epigynous. 5.5.1 Parts of flower. Each flower normally has 4 floral whorls, which is calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. 5.5.1.1 Calyx. The calyx is the outermost whorl of the flower, and the members are called sepals. Generally, sepals are green, leaf-like, and protect the flower in the bud stage. The calyx may be gamosepalous, sepals united, or polysepalous, sepals free. 5.5.1.2 Corolla. Corolla is composed of petals. Petals are usually brightly colored to attract insects for pollination, like calyx. Corolla may also be gamopetalous, petals united, or polypetalous, petals free. The shape and color of corolla vary greatly in plants. Corolla may be tubular, bell-shaped, funnel-shaped, or wheel-shaped. Estivation, the mode of arrangement. Figure 5.14 Parts of a flower: Androecium, gynoecium, corolla, calyx, pedicel. Calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium. Estivation, the mode of arrangement of sepals or petals in floral buds with respect to the other members of the same whorl is known as estivation. The main types of estivation are valvate, twisted, imbricate, and vexillary. When sepals or petals in a whorl just touch one another at the margin without overlapping, as in calyx opus, it is said to be valvate. If one margin of the appendage overlaps that of the next one, and so on, as in china rose, lady's finger, and cotton, it is called twisted. If the margins of sepals or petals overlap one another but not in any particular direction, as in cassia and gulmohar, the estivation is called imbricate. In pea and bean flowers, there are 5 petals. The largest standard overlaps the 2 lateral petals wings, which in turn overlaps the 2 smallest anterior petals keel. This type of estivation is known as vexillary or papilionaceous. Figure 5.15 Types of estivation in corolla: A. Valvate, B. Twisted, C. Imbricate, D. Vexillary. 5.5.1.3 Androecium is composed of Androecium. Androecium is composed of stamens. Each stamen, which represents the male reproductive organ, consists of a stalk or a filament and an anther. Each anther is usually bilobed, and each lobe has 2 chambers. The pollen sacs, the pollen grains are produced in the pollen sacs. A sterile stamen is called staminode. Stamens of flower may be united and other members such as petals or among themselves. When stamens are attached to the petals, they are epipetalous, as in brinjal, or epiphyllous when attached to the perianth, as in the flowers of lily. The stamens in a flower may either remain free, polyandrous, or may be united in varying degrees. The stamens may be united into one bunch or one bundle, monoadelphous, as in china rose, or 2 bundles, diadelphous, as in pea, or into more than 2 bundles, polyadelphous, as in citrus. There may be a variation in the length of filaments within a flower, as in salvia and mustard. Gynoecium. 5.5.1.4 Gynoecium. Gynoecium is the female reproductive part of the flower and is made up of one or more carpels. A carpel consists of 3 parts, namely stigma, style, and ovary. Ovary is the largest basal part on which lies the elongated tube, the style. The style connects the ovary to the stigma. The stigma is usually at the tip of the style and is the receptive surface for pollen grains. Each ovary bears one or more ovules attached to the flattened cushion-like placenta. When more than one carpel is present, they may be free, as in lotus and rose. and are called apocarpus. They are termed syncarpus when carpels are fused, as in mustard and tomato. After fertilization, the ovules develop into seeds and the ovary matures into a fruit. Placentation. The arrangement of ovules within the ovary is known as placentation. The placentation are of different types, namely marginal, axial, parietal, basal, central, and free central. In marginal placentation, the placenta forms a ridge along the ventral suture of the ovary, and the ovules are borne on this ridge, forming two rows as in P. When the placenta is axial and the ovules are attached to it in a multilocular ovule, the placentation is said to be axial, as in China rose, tomato, and lemon. In parietal placentation, the ovules develop on the inner wall of the ovary or on peripheral part. Ovary is one-chambered, but it becomes two-chambered due to formation of the false septum, for example, mustard and argemone. When the ovules are borne on the central axis and septa are absent, as in dianthus and primrose, the placentation is called free central. In basal placentation, the placenta develops at the base of ovary and single ovule is attached to it, as in sunflower marigold. Figure 5.16 Types of placentation. A. Marginal. B. Axial. C. Parietal. D. Free central. E. Basal. 5.6 The fruit. The fruit is the characteristic feature of the flowering plants. It is a mature or ripened ovary developed after fertilization. If the fruit is formed without fertilization of the ovary, it is called a parthenocarpic fruit. Generally, the fruit consists of a whole or pericarp and seeds. The pericarp may be dry or fleshy. When pericarp is thick and fleshy, it is differentiated into outer epicarp and the middle mesocarp and the inner endocarp. Figure 5.17 Parts of a fruit. A. Mango. Epicarp, mesocarp, seed, endocarp. B. Coconut. Mesocarp, seed, and endocarp with no epicarp. In mango and coconut, the fruit is known as a drupe. They develop from monocarpellary superior ovaries and are one-seeded. In mango, the pericarp is well differentiated into an outer thin epicarp, a middle fleshy edible mesocarp, and an inner stony hard endocarp. In coconut, which is also drupe, the mesocarp is fibrous. 5.7 The seed. The ovules after fertilization develops into seeds. A seed is made up of a seed coat and an embryo. The embryo is made up of radicle and embryonal axis and one, as in wheat, maize, or two cotyledones, as in gram and pea. 5.7.1 Structure of a dicotyledonous seed. The outermost covering of a seed is the seed coat. The seed coat has two layers, the outer testa and the inner tegmen. The hilum is a scar on the seed coat through which the developing seeds were attached to the fruit. Above the hilum is a small pore called the micropyle within the seed, that is the embryo, consisting of an embryonal axis and two cotyledones. The cotyledones are often fleshy and full of reserve food materials. At the two ends of the embryonal axis are present the radicle and the plumule. In some seeds, such as castor, the endosperm formed as a result of double fertilization is a food storing tissue and are called endospermic seeds. In plants such as bean, gram, and pea, the endosperm is not present in mature seeds, and such seeds are called non-endospermous. Figure 5.18 Structures of dicotyledonous seed. Seed coat, hilum, micropyle, cotyledon, plumule, radicle. 5.7.2 Structure of a monocotyledonous seed. Generally, monocotyledonous seeds are endospermic, but some, as in orchids, are non-endospermic. In seeds of cereals such as maize, the seed coat is membranous and are generally fused with the fruit wall. The endosperm is bulky and stores food. The outer covering of endosperm separates the embryo by a proteinaceous layer called aleuron layer. The embryo is small and situated in a groove at one end of the endosperm. It consists of one large and a shield-shaped cotyledon known as scutellum and a short axis with plumule and a radicle. The plumule and radicle are enclosed in sheaths which are called coleoptile and coleorhiza respectively. Figure 5.19 Structure of monocotyledonous seed. Endosperm, embryo. Endosperm, scutellum, coleoptile, plumule, radicle, coleorhiza, seed coat and fruit wall, alluron layer. 5.8 Semi-technical description of a typical flowering plant. Various morphological features are used to describe flowering plants. The description has to be brief in a simple and scientific language and are present in the proper sequence. The plant is described beginning with its habit, vegetative characters, root, stem, and leaves, and the floral characters, inflorescence, and flower parts. After describing various parts of a plant, a floral diagram and a floral formula are represented. The floral formula is represented by some symbols. In the floral formula, the R stands for bracteate, capital K stands for calyx, capital C for corolla, capital P for perianth, capital A for androecium, and capital G for gynoecium. G with lower dash for superior ovary and G upper dash for inferior ovary. Male symbol for male, female symbol for female, bisexual symbol for bisexual plants, plus enclosed in a circle for actinomorphic, and percentage for zygomorphic nature of flower. Fusion is indicated by enclosing the figure within bracket and adhesion by a line drawn above the symbols of floral parts. A floral diagram provides information about the number of parts of a flower, their arrangement, and the relation they have with one another. The position of the axis with respect to the flower is represented by a dot on the top of the floral diagram. Calyx, corolla, and androecium and gynoecium are drawn in the successive whorls, calyx being the outermost and gynoecium being in the center. Floral diagram also shows cohesion and adhesion within parts of a flower and between whorls. A floral diagram and floral formula in figure 5.20 represents the mustard plant family Brassicaceae. Floral diagram with floral diagram. Floral diagram with floral formula. Mustard plant. Actinomorphic, bisexual, calyx 2+2, corolla 4, androecium 2+4, superior ovary 2, fused. 5.9 Description of some important families. 5.9.1 Fabaceae, which is a dicot. This family was earlier called Papilionodiae. As a family Leguminosae, it is distributed all over the world. Vegetative characters: tree, shrubs, herbs, roots with root nodules. Stem erect or climber. Leaves alternate, pinnately compound or simple. Leaf base fulminate, stipulate, venation, reticulate. Floral characters: inflorescence, racemose, flower, bisexual, zygomorphic, calyx, sepals 5, gamosepalous, valvate or imbricate estivation, corolla, petals 5, polypetalous, papilionaceous, consisting of a posterior standard, 2 lateral wings, 2 anterior ones, forming a keel enclosing stamens and pistil, maxillary estivation, androecium 10, diadelphous, anther dithecus, gynoecium, ovary superior, monocarpellary, unilocular with many ovules, style single, fruit, legume, seed, one to many, non-endospermic, fruit. Floral formula: zygomorphic, bisexual, calyx 5 fused, corolla 1+2 fused, androecium 9 fused plus 1, superior ovary 1. Figure 5.2 D1 Pisum sativum. P plant. A flowering twig, B flower, C petals, D reproductive parts, E LS carpel, F floral diagram. Economic importance: many plants belonging to the family are sources of pulses: gram, arhar, same, moong, soybean, edible soil, soybean, groundnut, dye, indigofera, fibers, sun hemp, fodder, sesbania trifolium, ornamentals, lupin, sweet pea, medicine, muliati. 5.9.2 Solanaceae. which is a dicot family. It is a large family, commonly called as a potato family. It is widely distributed in tropics, subtropics, and even temperate zones. Vegetative characters: plants, mostly herbs, shrubs, and rarely small trees. Stems: herbaceous, rarely woody, aerial, erect, cylindrical, branched, and solid or hollow, hairy or glabrous. Underground stem in potato, Solanum tuberosum. Leaves: alternate, simple, rarely pinnately compound, exstipulate, venation, reticulate. Floral characters: inflorescence solitary, axillary, or cymose, as in Solanum. Flower: bisexual, actinomorphic, calyx sepals 5, united, persistent, valvate estivation. Corolla: petals 5, united, valvate estivation. Androecium: stamens 5, epipetalis. Gynoecium: bicarpellary, obliquely placed. Syncarpus: ovary superior, bilocular. Placenta: swollen with many ovules. Axile: fruits, berry or capsule. Seeds: many. Endospermous. Floral formula: actinomorphic, bisexual, calyx, fused 5, corolla, fused 5, a androecium 5 with corolla and androecium adhesion. Superior ovary fused 2. Economical importance: many plants belonging to the family are good source of food: tomato, brinjal, potato, spice, chili, medicine, belladonna, ashwagandha, fumigatory, tobacco, ornamentals, petunia. Figure 5.22 Solanum nigrum, macoy plant. A. Flowering twig. B. Flower. C. LS of flower. D. Stamens. E. Carpel. F. Floral diagram. 5.9.3 Liliaceae, which is a monocot family, commonly called the lily family, is a characteristic representative of monocotyledonous plants. It is distributed worldwide. Vegetative characters: perennial herbs with underground bulbs or combs or rhizomes. Leaves: mostly basal, alternate, linear, exstipulate with parallel venation. Floral characters: inflorescence solitary or cymose, often umbellate clusters. Flower: bisexual, actinomorphic. Perianth sepal 6, 3 plus 3 arrangement, often united into tube. Valvate estivation. Androecium stamen 6, 3 plus 3, epitapalus. Gynoecium tricarpellary, syncarpus, ovary superior, trilocular with many ovules. Axial placentation. Fruit: capsule, rarely berry, seed. Endospermous. Floral formula: bracteate, actinomorphic, bisexual. Perianth 3 plus 3 fused. Androecium 3 plus 3 with adhesion. Perianth and androecium. Inferior, superior ovary 3 with fused. Economic importance: many plants belonging to this family are good ornamentals: tulip, gloriosa, stores of medicine, aloe. Vegetables: asparagus and colchicine, colchicum, autumn nail. Figure 5.23 Ilium cepa, onion plant. A. Plant. B. Inflorescence. C. Flower. D. Floral diagram. Summary: flowering plants exhibit enormous variation in shape, size, structure, mode of nutrition, lifespan, habit, and habitat. They have well-developed root and shoot systems. The root system is either a taproot or fibrous. Generally, dicotyledonous plants have taproots, while monocotyledonous plants have fibrous roots. The roots in some plants get modified for storage of food, mechanical support, and respiration. The shoot system is differentiated into stem, leaves, flowers, and fruits. The morphological features of stems, like the presence of nodes and internodes, multicellular hair, and positively phototrophic nature, helps to differentiate the stems from roots. Stems also get modified to perform diverse functions such as storage of food, vegetative propagation, and protection under different conditions. Leaf is a lateral outgrowth of stem developed exogenously at the node. These are green in color to perform the function of photosynthesis. Leaves exhibit marked variations in their shape, size, and margin, apex, and extent of incisions of leaf blade lamina, tendrils, leaf blade lamina. Like other parts of plants, the leaves also gets modified into other structures such as tendrils, spines for climbing and protection, respectively. The flower is a modified shoot meant for sexual reproduction. The flowers are arranged in different types of inflorescences. They exhibit enormous variation in structure, symmetry, position of ovary in relation to other parts of in relation to other parts, arrangement of petals, sepals, ovules, etc. After fertilization, the ovary is modified into fruits and ovules into seeds. Seeds either may be monocotyledonous or dicotyledonous. They vary in shape, size, and period of viability. The floral characteristics form the basis of classification and identification of flowering plants. This can be illustrated through semi-technical descriptions of families. Hence, a flowering plant is described in a definite sequence by using scientific terms. The floral features are represented in the summarized form as floral diagrams and floral formula.